You're suffering, quietly, and no one knows. You didn't imagine it. The late replies, the shift in tone, the feeling in your gut you kept ignoring. She lied, but your heart, it saw the truth. And maybe that's the part no one talks about. Not the betrayal itself, but the war inside you when the truth arrives. And you still hope it's wrong. This isn't just about her. It's about the pain you've been carrying in silence ever since. The ache you hide, the questions you never say out loud, and the belief that if you were smarter, stronger, colder, this wouldn't have happened. But Einstein saw pain differently. He believed that what breaks you might also be what reveals you. That the suffering you think is destroying your life might actually be trying to give it back to you. So, if you're here, if something inside you is still burning, still unfinished, stay. Because the truth about pain is nothing like you were told. You smile when you're supposed to. You do what's expected. You keep going, day after day, like someone walking with a limp no one can see. And maybe you've gotten used to it. The ache, the questions you don't have answers for, the weight in your chest that never really leaves, just shifts. But what if suffering isn't what you think it is? What if it isn't a flaw in the system? What if it's not a sign that something's broken in you? Einstein had a view on suffering that would probably surprise you. He didn't treat it as a failure of the human condition. He didn't try to escape it. He didn't hide from it or numb it or pretend it wasn't there. And this is the part that no one talks about. He once said, "In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity," and he meant it. Not as a motivational quote, but as a way of living. See, most of us are taught to fear pain, avoid it, push through it, cover it up with distractions. We call it strength. But Einstein saw something different, something sacred. He believed that suffering, real suffering, wasn't an obstacle to truth. It was a doorway to it. And maybe that's what you've been missing. Not more answers, not more motivation, just a different way of seeing the hurt you carry. Because what if your suffering isn't here to destroy you, but to reveal you? What if it's not asking for you to fix it, but to stay with it long enough to finally hear what it's trying to say? You didn't ask for the pain you carry. You just learned how to carry it, not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, the way most people do, tucked beneath your responsibilities, hidden behind your daily routine. You got good at it, holding yourself together even when you felt like coming apart. No one really notices. That's part of the problem. They see you functioning, showing up, doing your job, laughing at the right moments. They don't see the moment in the shower when your chest tightens for no reason, or that second of silence before bed when the emptiness hits you, and you don't know why. So you move on. You push it down. You survive. Because that's what we were taught to do, isn't it? We were never shown how to be with pain. We were taught how to manage it, silence it, escape it. We were told to stay strong, which usually meant stay numb, to be smart, which meant stay distant, to be successful, which meant stay busy. Enough to never feel what's underneath it all. And somewhere along the way, we began to believe the lie that pain is weakness. That if we suffer, something's wrong with us. That if we're sad for too long, it's a flaw. That if we slow down, we'll fall apart. So we don't. Instead, we keep running, from job to job, person to person, thought to thought. We scroll, we swipe, we self-improve, all while quietly drowning in what we refuse to feel. But what if pain was never the problem? What if the real issue is that no one ever taught us how to stay with it, not fix it, not analyze it, just stay? Einstein knew what it meant to stay with something that felt impossible. When everyone else wanted answers, he sat in the unknown. When others gave up, he stayed. And not just with scientific problems, but with inner ones too, with isolation, with failure, with the grief of things he couldn't undo. He didn't pathologize difficulty. He didn't treat it as noise to cancel. He listened to it. He honored it. He believed that somewhere in the heart of every problem was something worth understanding. And that idea, that suffering has something to teach you, that can feel almost impossible to accept when you're in the middle of it. Because when you're hurting, you don't want meaning. You want relief. You want it to go away. You want to feel safe again, normal again, in control again. And yet, the most profound moments of human transformation rarely come when things are easy. They come when life cracks us open. When the structures we built to protect ourselves stop working. When something old falls apart, and we don't yet know what will take its place. That space, the in-between, is where most people panic. But Einstein lived there, and what he discovered in that space wasn't despair, it was clarity. Not because he rushed through the discomfort, but because he stayed with it long enough for it to reveal what it was hiding. That's what no one ever tells you about pain. It doesn't want to destroy you. It wants to reveal something deeper, but it can only do that if you stop running long enough to listen. So here's the question. What have you been trying not to feel? What have you been too afraid to name? Too tired to confront? Too overwhelmed to sit with? Because chances are that thing, the one you avoid, holds a truth you've been searching for everywhere else. And maybe this is the first time you've slowed down enough to hear that. So stay here, not in suffering for the sake of it, but in the stillness that suffering invites. The kind that says, there's something sacred in what hurts. You just haven't stayed long enough to see it. Einstein's name is wrapped in myth. We think of him as a mind, not a man. The equations, the hair, the genius. We turn him into a symbol of brilliance, almost untouchable, like his mind operated on a level the rest of us couldn't access. But what we forget, or maybe never learned, is that Einstein suffered. Deeply, privately, quietly. He wasn't some emotionless machine solving the secrets of the universe from a place of detachment. He was a man who lost, who felt, who questioned, and who carried a kind of pain that intellect could never solve. He was exiled from his homeland, watched his theories twisted into weapons, lived with the burden of guilt when the bomb, something he only warned of, never built, became real. He lost connection with those he loved, struggled in his relationships, carried grief that had nowhere to go. And through all of it, he didn't run. He sat with the discomfort of not knowing. He lived in the tension between possibility and despair. He made room for the mess, because he understood something most of us don't. Suffering isn't solved by intelligence. It's softened by presence. Einstein didn't try to outthink pain. He allowed it. He gave it space to exist, the way he gave his questions space to unfold. He didn't ask suffering to leave. He asked it what it came to teach him. There's a quiet power in that. It's easy to look at someone like Einstein and think he was just wired differently. But maybe that's the lie we tell ourselves to avoid doing what he did. Because what if the real difference wasn't his mind, but his willingness to stay, to feel what others escaped, to befriend the unknown instead of fearing it? Think about that. The man who unlocked the mysteries of the universe also sat with his own sorrow. He didn't use science to escape the human experience. He used it to move closer to it. He once said, "A person starts to live when he can live outside of himself." And that's what suffering does, doesn't it? It pulls you out of the illusion that you're in control. It invites you into something more vulnerable, more honest, more human. And that's where life begins. Not in the certainty of answers, but in the rawness of what you feel when all your answers fall apart. Einstein didn't deny the chaos. He walked with it, because he knew that within every difficulty, there is a current, a pull, a thread of truth that only reveals itself when you stop fighting the storm and let yourself sink into it, just enough to learn its language. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. And maybe, just maybe, that same thread is running through your pain right now. Maybe there's something beneath the ache, deeper knowing, that you haven't accessed yet. Not because you're not smart enough, but because you haven't been still enough. Einstein's relationship with suffering wasn't clinical. It was spiritual. He understood that the mind can only take you so far. At some point, you stop calculating and start listening to the silence, to the grief, to the spaces between your thoughts. And it's there, in that quiet space, that transformation begins. Not because you got stronger, but because you got softer. Not because you pushed through, but because you allowed. That's what Einstein modeled. Not brilliance, but bravery. The kind that doesn't show up as grand gestures, but as the quiet choice to stay with what hurts until it reveals something sacred. And maybe that's the kind of genius the world is starving for right now. Not faster minds, but deeper hearts. People who are willing to sit with what's unresolved. People who don't need to be certain to keep going. People who trust that pain is not the end of the road. It's the invitation to walk it differently. And now that you've heard this, you can't unhear it. Something inside you knows the way forward isn't in running. It's in staying, the way Einstein did. Somewhere along the way, we stopped seeing pain as part of life. We started seeing it as a malfunction, as something to hide, to correct, to delete. It wasn't always like this. There was a time when pain was treated with reverence, when elders sat in circles and told stories of suffering as sacred trials, initiations of the soul. There was a time when we gathered around grief, not avoided it, when we honored sorrow with ceremony, not silence. But now, we've built a culture that fears pain more than death. We do everything to avoid it. We brand discomfort as weakness. We pathologize sadness. We monetize distraction. We silence stillness with screens. And the moment we feel anything that might hurt, we reach for the fastest possible way out. A notification, a pill, a plan, a purchase, a post. We've created lives that are allergic to the very thing that makes us human, the capacity to feel, because feeling is slow. And in our world, slowness feels like failure. We want answers now, healing now, growth now. Even transformation has become something to be scheduled and optimized. But pain doesn't work like that. It doesn't care about your calendar. It doesn't show up in your Google reminders. It arrives uninvited, unscheduled, unapologetic, and that's what makes it sacred, because pain isn't here to ruin you. It's here to reveal you, the part of you you've been too busy to meet. But we've forgotten how to meet ourselves. We've become experts in avoiding, experts in analyzing, intellectualizing, diagnosing. We go to therapy to fix the pain, not to listen to it. We meditate to silence the discomfort, not to understand it. Even our healing has become another way to avoid what's actually asking to be heard. Einstein would have seen this as a tragic mistake. He didn't rush toward healing. He didn't label difficulty as dysfunction. He sat inside the unknown until it softened. He let pain speak, not as a monster to conquer, but as a voice worth understanding. And that's the difference between real transformation and performance. Real transformation is slow, messy, uncontrollable. It doesn't happen because you master it. It happens because you surrender to it. But surrender is a word we've been taught to mistrust. It sounds like giving up. It feels like losing. When in reality, surrender is the moment you stop resisting what's already true. It's the moment you let the grief speak. The moment you stop pretending you're okay. The moment you say, I'm here. I don't know what to do, but I'm willing to feel it now. That's what begins to shift everything. Not a book, not a quote, not even this video. but that internal moment when you stop fighting your experience and begin to turn toward it. The modern world will tell you that's weakness. It will tell you to fix yourself, get back to normal, get productive again. But maybe normal was the problem. Maybe the version of you that pushed through pain, smiled through burnout, and pretended everything was fine. Maybe that version was never fully alive. Maybe suffering isn't what breaks you. Maybe it's what frees you from the identity you built just to survive. But to let it do that, you have to stop treating it like a mistake. You have to stop asking, how do I get rid of this? And start asking, what is this here to teach me? Einstein didn't run from tension. He leaned into it. And that gave him access to insights that others couldn't find. Not because he was smarter, but because he was willing to go deeper, and the same is true for you. You don't need more information. You need more intimacy with your own experience. You need time, space, stillness. You need to create a life where your pain isn't a threat, but a messenger. Because once you stop treating pain as the enemy, you'll discover something extraordinary. It's not trying to ruin your life. It's trying to wake you up to it. No one taught you how to stay with pain. They taught you how to explain it, how to suppress it, how to override it with logic, with habits, with faith, with action, but not how to be with it. Not how to sit down beside it like an old friend who hasn't spoken in years. And so, of course, when pain visits, you panic. You label it. You fear it. You try to figure out what's wrong with you. But maybe there's nothing wrong with you. Maybe you've just never been shown what it means to stay. To stay when the sadness has no clear reason. To stay when the fear pulses through your chest and you can't trace it to a moment. To stay when you feel hollow and nothing external can fill it. To stay with the ache without the need to edit it. Most people don't stay. They leave themselves in 1,000 small ways. They distract, they binge, they scroll, they think, this is too much, and then they escape. But staying is not about endurance. It's not about punishing yourself. It's not about wallowing or spiraling. Staying is presence. Staying is surrender. Staying is saying, I am willing to feel this. Even if it doesn't make sense yet. Even if it scares me. Even if it takes time. Einstein understood this in his own way. He didn't arrive at truth by moving faster than everyone else. He arrived by remaining longer. While others gave up on the problem, he listened to it. He lived in the unknown longer than what was comfortable. And in that space, the quiet no one else was willing to sit in, answers began to form, not because he forced them, but because he made room for them. That same room exists inside you, but it's buried under the noise, under the urgency, under the belief that peace only comes when the pain is gone. It doesn't. Peace comes when you stop demanding the pain to leave and start being present with it. And this is not easy. This is not romantic or poetic when it's happening in real time. It's slow, it's tender, it's vulnerable. Sometimes it feels like nothing is happening. But if you stay long enough, you begin to notice the subtlest shift. The fear begins to soften. The sadness becomes less sharp. The tightness in your chest loosens by a fraction. And then, something speaks. Not loudly, not like a revelation, more like a whisper in your bloodstream, a knowing, a memory, a truth you've been carrying all along. But you only hear it when you stop running. You don't have to fix your pain right now. You don't have to understand it. You don't even have to like it. But what if you gave it 5 minutes of your day? What if you sat in silence, closed your eyes, and let the ache rise without pushing it away? What if you let the sadness sit beside you? What if you treated it like a guest instead of an enemy? And what if, just for a moment, you stopped, asking, how do I get out of this? and started asking, what part of me have I been avoiding by not staying? This is how the healing begins, not by fixing, not by escaping, but by witnessing, by letting your pain exist without shame, without resistance, without a deadline. Einstein didn't just stay with scientific uncertainty. He stayed with the chaos of life, the heartbreak, the moral weight, the exile. He stayed, and the staying made him wise. You can do the same, and you don't have to be a genius to do it. You just have to stop moving long enough to notice what's already waiting to be felt. So take a breath, not to change your state, not to calm yourself down, but to return, to come back to the part of you that's been waiting for your presence, to the question that doesn't need an answer yet, to the wound that doesn't need to be solved, only seen. That's staying, and it will change your life. So here you are. You've listened. You've felt. Maybe not everything. Maybe not all at once, but something inside you slowed down, just enough to hear what you've been missing. And what you've been missing is yourself. Not the version of you that performs. Not the version that smiles when it's expected. Not the achiever. Not the thinker. Not the fixer, the one beneath. All that, the one who's been hurting quietly, waiting patiently, wondering if it's safe to come forward again, wondering if it's finally okay to feel, to fall apart without shame, to stop running without guilt, to stay, because staying, with your pain, with your questions, with your stillness, isn't weakness. It's what Einstein knew. It's what mystics have whispered for centuries. It's what you've always known, somewhere deep down, beneath the noise. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to be brilliant. You just need to remain open, just long enough, for something softer to reach you. The next insight you've been waiting for, the one that will shape how you love, how you heal, how you breathe, isn't out there. It's already here. And it's not in the noise. It's in the silence you've been taught to avoid, the silence you are learning to trust. So, here's the invitation. This week, give yourself 5 minutes, not to escape, not to improve, but to stay. Sit in a quiet room. Let your pain be there. Let your breath be there. And let the moment speak. Not because you need an answer, but because you're done abandoning yourself. Einstein stayed with his questions. You can stay with your heart. And maybe that's where real intelligence begins. Not in what you know, but in how deeply you're willing to feel what's true. Now I want to ask you, what's one emotion, one thought, one ache you're willing to stay with this week? Comment below. Not to get it fixed. Not to be told what to do. Just to name it. To give it air, to let it live. And if this spoke to something in you, if something inside you softened or opened or simply paused, then maybe this isn't just a video. Maybe it's a place to return to. So stay. Stay with the feeling, stay with the question, stay with yourself. Because sometimes staying is the most radical thing you can do. So, now you know. The pain you've been trying to push away, it wasn't here to destroy you. It was here to wake you up. And yeah, maybe she lied. Maybe it broke something in you. But maybe that break opened the part of you that finally started paying attention. Because pain? Real pain? It doesn't mean you're weak. It means something inside you still feels, still cares, still wants truth, even when it hurts. So don't rush to fix it. Don't scroll past it. Don't drown it in silence. Just stay. Stay long enough to hear what it's trying to show you. Because here's the part most people miss. It's not the pain that ruins you. It's ignoring it. And the moment you finally stop running from it, you start running toward yourself. Now listen. If this message found you in a moment where you needed it, don't just leave. Pause. Breathe. And come watch this next. Stop saying yes to everything. What Einstein knew about inner peace. It's not just about boundaries. It's about learning how to finally come back to yourself. And if today's video spoke to your pain, the next one will speak to your peace. I'll meet you there.